Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
So we're talking about self-worth. So this was your idea. So I'll let you intro this one.
Yes. Well, I was actually just having a quick look at this book. Have you got this book?
No, but I know of it and I love Jamie Kern Lima. I think she's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, which is all about worthy. And she had, it's really good. And there's a bit, I just wanted to find it so I got it right. At the beginning of the book, she says that I don't know where she's got her stats from, but she's obviously got them from somewhere. 80% of women don't believe that they are enough, which is huge. 75% of female executives deal with imposter syndrome, not believing that they're worthy of that. 91% of girls and women don't love their bodies. And actually,
how many percent?
91%.
That is wild.
It's completely nuts. And it's not just women, it's men as well. 73% of men feel inadequate. Those stats are pretty nuts. And I think, we can all relate. It's such a deep-rooted belief, this sort of I am not enough, this feeling of not enoughness. And it is something which I really believe that we have got to just constantly remind ourselves about, because inherently we are born worthy. We don't have to earn worth. We are just worthy exactly as we are. But as we go through life, because we get celebrated for the things that we do and the things that we achieve, starting right from school all the way up, we then start to get that confused that we think that the things that we achieve make us valuable and worthy. And so when we are getting, we're comparing ourselves in the class. I once got 0% in a history exam in my primary school, and it was all the results were plastered on the wall in the hall. Oh. And my teacher gave me 0% in a history exam. I remember I wrote lots anyway. And when things like that, I remember seeing that 0% on the wall, and immediately I was like, well, I'm useless. I'm not worthy.
And things like that stay with you.
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Things like that can really stay with you
forever. And so what we have to do now, because these things crop up and they stay with you, and they come into every part of your life, we have to start unlearning all of these different beliefs that we have piled on to ourselves to rediscover our inherent worth and rediscover that. It's not like we've got to do more to find it. It's literally like we've got to relearn how to get back there and take the layers off of all of this. It's like an unlearning of all of these beliefs that we've picked up along the way. And ultimately, we can do all the things. We can be really successful in our lives. We can have all the money. We can have all the accolades. But if we don't feel a sense of our own value and our own worth within the world, we're not going to feel happy and fulfilled. And that, you hear a lot, don't you, of people who've done it all. They've reached their goals. They've done the big thing. And yet they're a bit like, oh, is this it? I always think actually of Johnny Wilkinson, the rugby player, because I heard an interview of him recently actually, and he reached his success at quite a young age, and he said he just felt so empty after winning, I can't remember what it was a World Cup or something. He just felt empty and numb, and it was a bit like, oh, and it's because if you haven't got this feeling of self-worth, then it doesn't mean anything, and it's doesn't feel good. So it's really important that for all of us, and it's a constant process, because the self-doubt the fears, all of it is constantly there. And yesterday we talked about having to have, we're having that courage to do the things that we want to do. But with this, again, it's like having the courage to take the steps to feel into your worthiness, I think, and to just do the things anyway and not let those beliefs stop us. Because actually, that is, I think, the way that you inherently get there. I don't think there's no magic pill that we can take to just feel our self-worth. You've got to kind of do the work to understand yourself. What are the things that are making you feel less than, making you feel doubtful about yourself? I mean, Lucy, what you've recently been talking about with your book, and you have stood up and said, I am happy being single and child free. And isn't it interesting when you did that, which is showing people I am feeling worthy as I am, people just couldn't hack it. So many people haven't been able to take that because they are throwing onto you all of what they believe to be true. And that is what we're fighting. We're all fighting against other people's beliefs like that. Always. And that is what makes us feel not enough. I hope I've made sense.
You've made complete sense, love. You've made complete sense. I agree with everything you've said. And as Jamie Kern Lima has said, if anyone missed that book at the beginning, it's Jamie Kern Lima's Worthy. I haven't actually read it yet, but I know that one of the things that she talks about and one of the kind of main messages is that our self-worth is our ceiling. In other words, how high or low our self-worth is how far or not we're going to get in life. And just speaking to one of the things that you mentioned then, I think this comes back to this concept and this thing that we all, I think, suffer with, this idea and this belief that when we get this, we will feel this. And this very much, when it comes to inherent self-worth, this is exactly what we have to kind of conquer. It's that understanding that our self-worth does not rely on something happening outside of ourselves. It doesn't rely on I got married, therefore that adds to my self-worth. Oh yeah, I got promoted, therefore that adds to my self-worth. It's not about those external things, those external, quote, successes, whatever it is. It's about, it has to come inherently from us. So we have to work on building that inside of us without the need for validation from anything outside. We have to be able to validate our own self-worth. And speaking to what you just brought up about what's been happening with me, Polly, and the book and the article and all the horrible comments, I have to say, had I not done a lot of work on my own self-worth, like several years ago, this would have fucking crushed me. Like it really would have, because I didn't have that internal sense of self. It's about your sense of self, and it's not about, oh, you're really arrogant, because I think there's this sort of stigma. If you big yourself up, if you're confident, if you dare to speak out, there's this idea that, well, who the hell does she think she is? Well, who the hell am I not to? Why should I not? Why should you not? Why should any of us not? But I think it's quite difficult sometimes because people love to tear us down, don't they? Especially people who are sort of putting their head above the parapet. And also there is this slight stigma that it's as if people think you're being arrogant, and that's not the case. Standing in your self-worth and understanding that you are inherently worthy is nothing to do with arrogance. It's just having a strong sense of self, and that is what we should all be aiming for. And there are various ways that you and I have certainly both worked on our own sense of worth, and there are certain things that we can do, because like you said, it's a practice. It's not just like, oh yeah, someone says, well, you are inherently worthy, so you go, oh, okay, great, thanks for that, I'm inherently worthy, how wonderful, the end. Obviously it's not as simple as that. Like anything, it takes work. And a few of the things that we can do, like, I mean, I'm sure you've got some ideas here as well, Polly, but, one of the things that we can do is just to, first of all, ask ourselves how much are we allowing ourselves to be authentic? How much are we allowing ourselves to be ourselves? Because I think if you, and I think sometimes it doesn't occur to us. Like it doesn't occur to us to, unless we actually become aware of this and ask the question to ourselves and really think about it, we can go. And I went on living for years and years and decades, not realizing that I wasn't actually being my authentic self. And I was constantly tempering myself or toning myself down or shifting and changing and depending on who I was with and what I felt that they required from me in order for me to be accepted by them. And so I think it's the one good thing to start with is to just have a little look, just check in with yourself. How much of yourself are you allowing yourself to be? And of course, the problem is, and the challenge with that is that when you do start to allow yourself to become the sort of fullest expression of yourself, that is when you realize and you have to start understanding and accept that not everyone is going to like you, but that's okay. And if only we could just get over this, because when we are being our authentic selves, when we're showing up in our truth and being who the fuck we really are, and if that's like one of the things with me is I'm stupidly enthusiastic about things. I get like really overexcited and enthusiastic, and people have taken the piss out of me for it my entire life. So I used to tone it down, and now I'm like, no, this is who I am. I'm really expressive and enthusiastic. Tough shit. Because what happens is the people who are meant to be in your life will gravitate towards you, and the ones who aren't will be repelled. And we have to understand that that is okay. So the first thing I would say is to check in with how authentic you are actually being to yourself. And also that kind of leads on to check in with who are the people you are surrounding yourselves with and how do they make you feel? We have to really understand that the people that we're spending time with are affecting our self-worth, and either the people that you're spending time with are making you feel better and increasing your self-worth, or they're not. So you might have to just check in with, who do I potentially need to perhaps spend a little bit less time with, for example. And another way I think to kind of work on self-worth is to set yourself a challenge, because one of the best ways to build self-worth and build confidence, although they're two different things, but one of the best ways I think to build self-worth is to set yourself a challenge that you then stick to. And that can be anything. It can be, I'm going to start going for a mile walk every day, or I'm going to start writing the book, or I'm going to do whatever it is. It doesn't have to be big. But when we hold ourselves accountable and we prove to ourselves that we can stick to our word and we do those little things and they make us feel better, that helps to build our sense of self-worth. I mean, it can be going back to the like walking 1 mile a day, that is going to make you feel better about yourself. Something like a physical challenge, for example, is going to make you feel physically better about yourself, but it's also going to make you feel mentally better about yourself. So I think, setting yourself a challenge, just something small, and just showing up for yourself and proving to yourself that you can do what you say, that in itself builds that sense of self-worth, So there's just a few ways.
Yes, and I totally love what you said about what was the first thing you said? You were saying about, what did you say?
About asking yourself how authentic you're actually
sorry,
being,
yeah.
and how much of
Oh
you,
my God.
how fully expressed you are as a human.
Having a complete brain fog moment. But yeah, I think is so key, because it's so easy to wear different hats for different roles that we all have, and I have been the master of that, of feeling when I was a teacher I needed to put myself into this box, when I'm a mum put myself in this box, when I'm with my friends out having fun I'm this person. And I still do sometimes slip into that, I know I do, so I have to be really aware of it. But I think maybe with age as well, we give less shits and we just show up as we are. But I think that's so true. It's just like really noticing, are you being truly yourself? I think people pleasing is quite a big sign as well. If you're constantly trying to please other people and do things for other people, and you're in in the process of that, you're sacrificing what you want to do or sacrificing part of you, that is a real signal to go, okay, hold on a sec, why am I doing everything for everybody else and actually I'm not spending enough time on me? And we hear it all the time, particularly women. We're constantly caring and doing things for other people, and not to say that that's wrong, but when it's at the expense of your own needs, because you don't value your needs, that is when we've got to really take a look at that, because that's not doing anybody any favors. As we say, we've got to fill up our cup first and then we can give. So that is the most important thing that we can do, is really feed our soul. And that's why we talk about all the work that we do, our morning routines. It's that opportunity to fuel ourselves, to fill up our cups, so that overflowing, so that you can give the overflow to other people, which is hugely important. You mentioned also self-confidence and self-worth, and actually in Jamie's book Worthy, which I have here, she does a whole chapter on this, about the difference between self-worth and self-confidence, because they are different. Self-worth is more about how we feel inside, whereas self-confidence is kind of what you feel and what you show on the outside. So the confidence is built, yes, by taking actions, by doing the things, by building up that self-trust. But that can kind of fluctuate. The self-confidence can constantly fluctuate. Whereas what she says is the self-worth actually it's like your identity. It's your inner identity. And we want that to be as solid and stable and as possible, because that is how we're born. That should never go. So with self-confidence, we can constantly be building that, but it will change depending on kind of day we're having, really. You might feel really bloody scared, but actually your worth is knowing that you are 100% enough to go and show up as who you are, and you're 100% worthy to speak, to show every side of you, and you shouldn't hide parts of you because you don't feel that, because they're good enough. I mean, I'm saying it like I'm an absolute master of it, but I'm so not.
Me neither. It's a work in progress, isn't it? It is a practice, and it's something I have to continually work on. And there's always a part of me that's going, I'm not enough. Who the fuck are you to do this, or who the hell are you to do that? 100%. I mean, it is definitely something that we have to work on continuously. But actually, I think quite a lot of it boils down to, well, all of it boils down to what is going on in here in our heads. And I think we have to, this is another opportunity to take a really close look at what is that negative self-talk.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
We have to become more aware of how we are talking to ourselves. We just have to. And I still do it. I still negative self-talk every fucking day. It's just these days I can stop it and I can go, no, you're not a bloody idiot, or you're not a complete muppet. I'm constantly going, oh God, you're such an idiot. Oh my God, what a dick. Da, da, da. No. So I think I never used to realize, I was never consciously aware of that, of how impactful and how damaging our negative self-talk can be. We all have it. So we have to get aware of it. And we have to, this is why you and I bang on and on and on and on about awareness, because without awareness, we cannot change any of this. So, but I would just urge people to really start listening to that voice inside of your brain, because that is your ego. That is not the higher part of you. That is not your true essence. That is your ego that is worried about appearance and identity and status and all that shite. It's not the true part of you. So get that sort of higher part of you, watch it. This is why meditation helps, because meditation is not about clearing your mind. I've talked about this. It's very much not about clearing your mind. What it's about is, or to me anyway, the way that I use meditation, the way that I interpret it, is it allows us to separate our higher self from that monkey mind that we all have from our ego. It allows us to create that gap in between our true nature, our true self, our true essence, and what our brain and our mind is trying to do. So we really, I cannot stress enough the importance of becoming super vigilant and aware of what your inner voice is saying to you, what your inner critic is saying. And it literally is a case of having to go, no, stop it. I say this out loud to myself. Like if my brain is going, oh my God, you're such a wanker, I'm like, Lucy, no, that's not true. Stop it. And you have to have that sort of interruption. You need an interruption for that thought.
And
you have to stop it. You have to literally,
that is the absolute, that is the tricky bit. It's that getting to that point where you can interrupt it, where you actually notice yourself going down that loop. And so yes, all of these tools like self-awareness, which you can cultivate through your meditation, through just getting that spaciousness. It's that inner spaciousness. It's quietening the noise, because when you've got so much noise going on in your head, it's just like a really busy six-laned motorway,
highway,
whizzing round. So it's very hard to catch those negative thoughts. So when we can just, and I'm not talking about emptying your thoughts, because it's not possible, but it is about just creating some space in your mind, getting some calm, so that actually you are able to just see and slow everything down. And then you can actually go, okay, I'm in that negative spiral again. And it really does help as well. I mean, I'm very good at now when I'm going in those loops, if I'm struggling to break the cycle, because sometimes I notice that I'll be in the negative loop, but I'm really struggling to break the cycle. It's just kind of happening again and again. That is when I will either write it out and like get it out somehow, or I'll speak to somebody, and that's a really good way of going. It's like I'm really it's not like dwelling on it. It's just like I'm really noticing this thought I'm having. And I just got to, and it's annoying me now. I just need to change it. So actually, I find sometimes when I've just kind of got it out, and in a way that is like, I don't know. It's not. It's really important not to ruminate on it, because I think that could be the danger. But it's just
it's interrupting
it's just
the
saying
thought pattern.
It's interrupting the thought pattern, and then you can move on.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important. So it's noticing it first, being aware of it, trying to change it, and if you can't, finding another way of getting it out, whether that's through journey, through speaking it, through moving your body. I mean, often I find going and moving, doing some exercise, that also sometimes can interrupt it, break it, and then just talking to yourself so compassionately. And I know everyone says this, talk to yourself as if you were talking to your best mate or a friend or a family member, because the tone of that is so different, and actually can be so comforting, and give yourself a load of grace. It's like, you're doing bloody amazingly. Just, you are doing great. Just take it easy. And that's what I sometimes have to say to myself. Just be patient. It is working. Just calm down. And it really does help.
Yeah, it really, really does. I mean, it really is a practice. That's the thing. It is, I think part of the problem with all of this stuff is that we don't want to do the work, or we're very resistant to doing the work, because when it comes to particularly the, thought work, when it comes to changing the way that we think and changing the neural pathways in our brain, which is essentially what we're trying to do. It's a shed load of work. It takes time. But the thing is, once you start becoming aware of it, and once you start putting it into practice, it becomes easier. And ultimately, that is how you rewire your brain. That is how you stop. That is how you rewire. That is how you rewire your beliefs and your thought patterns, is by interrupting a thought that you don't want and replacing it with a slightly better one. And it's not about going from I'm a worthless piece of shit to God, I'm fucking awesome and I'm the most worthy person in the world. It's just choosing the slightly better thought. But that is the way we literally rewire our brain, interrupting it and refocusing it. And the more that we do that, and I've said this so many times on my podcast, I've said it on these lives 1,000 times. I have reminders in my phone every single day. I have reminders that come up every day, multiple times on my phone. So every time I look at my phone screen, there is some kind of positive affirmation, or there is a reminder that I've put in my diary. I've put in, my calendar on my phone, and I set an alarm, and it comes up at the same time every day. One of them, by the way, is, oh my God, Jennifer Aniston has started following me. But hey, moving on. But no, it sounds like such a silly, simple thing. But that's the thing. It is a simple thing, but it's not a silly thing, because it frickin' works. Because if you don't take responsibility for this stuff, if you don't make the decision to do something about this, and the way that you do that is by actually going, okay, I'm going to actually take action. I'm going to put some reminders in my phone, because the problem is, when you're not used to doing this work on your thoughts, you will slip back into into the program. You will slip back into zombie mode, like we all do, myself, you, us included. We all do it. But the difference is that perhaps you and I have had more practice recognizing when we've slipped back into zombie mode and back into the program, and we're better able to pull ourselves out of that. So make it easier on yourself by setting yourself reminders, because it gets easier, and it's so worth it. Yes, it's hard being constantly vigilant of your thoughts, but it is so damn important, and it's going to change your goddamn life for the better. It's going to change your life, because again, going back to Jamie Kern Lima's book and what she says about worthiness, our self-worth is our ceiling. So if our self-worth is really, really low, we're only ever going to get so far in life. It's just a fact. We're not going to get further than we believe we are worthy of. Yeah. And so it's so worth it. And one thing I just want to say, just really quickly, just speaking to the, my audience, who are mainly obviously single and don't have kids, or lots of them have kids, but are single, and, some of them aren't single and don't have kids. Yeah. Anyway, various iterations of being single and not having kids. But I think what we do, particularly with those two things, with the partner and the kids, is we think that our worth comes from a relationship. We allow ourselves to believe, because we've all been programmed to believe that it does. It fucking doesn't, the end. But we've all been programmed to believe that it does. We all believe somewhere in our subconscious that being in a relationship equates to worthiness. Having children equates to you are worth more now because you've had kids. So I think for the singletons listening out there, we have to realize, we have to believe, and we have to tell ourselves, we have to keep telling ourselves over and over again, your worth, nobody's worth comes from anyone else outside of themselves. Nobody's worth comes from a relationship, and nobody's worth comes from having kids. The end,
But it's also the same with, and it's so true for particularly for your audience, because that is such a cultural narrative which we've all been told. But also it comes with achievements and exam results, that all these kids who are recently taken all their exams, it's just so wrong how their worthiness is really pinned to what they get in their results, not their creativity, their kindness, and all these other amazing attributes. And that is where you can see where it all begins, because immediately you feel like a piece of shit if you don't get the results that your friend has got, if you don't then go on to achieve what they get to achieve. So this is what it's about. It's not about the achievements or the getting the stuff. It's not about getting stuff. It's about, as I said, it's from the inside out. It's about how you feel of yourself. And it's hard because of the world in which we live, where everything outside of ourselves gives us that sense of validation, but we've got to try and find somehow that internal validation where we don't need that external stuff. And often you can see in countries, the poorest countries around the world, where these people have nothing. There's loads of people living in one room, and you'll go and see them, and they're so happy to share what they have with you, and they're some of the happiest people there, because they have a great sense of self-worth. And it's so you don't have to have stuff to, although obviously stuff is great and nice, and being comfortable is great and nice, but you know, it's about separating that. It's not going to make you feel worthy. You can have all the stuff in the world and you can still feel unworthy.
Yeah,
so
yeah. True. As you were talking, I had there was another point that I wanted to quickly make, but it's completely gone out of my menopausal brain. So hey ho. What's new, baby?
I think both of us today. All right.
We'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, back on Monday. No, we're not back on Monday.
Are we not?
I'm going on holiday. No.
Okay. Oh, so now we've got enough in the can for... Is that right?
I think
Why did I think we had one more Monday? Anyway, so we don't need to have this conversation on this, do we? No, I'm sure you're right, love. I'm sure you're right.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. All right, then. Have a lovely holiday. Where are you going?
Thank you. Off to Turkey.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, love.
All right, lots of love. Speak to you later. Bye. Bye.